2. What if the story of our past isn't what we were taught in school? What if some ancient civilizations weren't just culturally rich, but technologically brilliant, achieving feats that still baffle modern science? All around the world, there are structures and artifacts that defy easy explanation. They were built with a level of precision, knowledge, and using materials that, according to our timeline of history, simply shouldn't have been possible. Tonight, we're going deep. We're re-exploring 5 ancient civilizations whose incredible achievements force us to question everything we think we know about our own history. Prepare to have your mind blown. Our first stop takes us to modern-day Turkey, to a site so old it literally rewrote the history books overnight. This is Göbekli Tepe, at over 11,000 years old. It is an absolute anomaly. Think about that for a second. This site predates agriculture. It predates pottery. 2. And it even predates the idea of people living in permanent settlements. These were hunter-gatherers. Yet, spread across this hilltop are massive T-shaped stone pillars, some weighing up to 20 tons. They are intricately carved with images of animals and symbols, and arranged with what appears to be precise astronomical alignments. The fundamental question is staggering. How? How did nomadic hunter-gatherers, without the wheel, without metal tools, without a settled society, manage to organize the labor required to quarry these enormous stones? How did they transport them across the landscape and then erect them with such care? It's a project that would be a challenge even with today's technology. The sheer scale of the operation suggests a level of social organization and shared purpose that archaeologists previously thought was impossible for that era. And perhaps the most unsettling part of the mystery, after centuries of use, the people who built Göbekli Tepe intentionally and meticulously buried the entire complex under tons of earth. They deliberately hid it from the world. Why would anyone create something so monumental, so groundbreaking, only to erase it? It's a question that haunts archaeologists to this day. Was it a sacred act, a way of putting a powerful force to rest? Or were they trying to hide something? Next, we travel to the banks of the Indus River in what is now Pakistan and India. Here, the Indus Valley civilization flourished over 4,000 years ago. While many other major civilizations were just taking their first steps in writing and building, the Indus Valley people were living in the future. Their cities were masterpieces of urban planning. We're talking about grid-based street layouts, a level of organization that wouldn't be seen again in many parts of the world for thousands of years. But it gets even more advanced. They had sophisticated water management systems, with reservoirs and wells scattered throughout their cities. Most impressively, they had indoor plumbing and citywide drainage systems. Think about cities like Mohenjo-Daro. Homes had private bathrooms and toilets that connected to a complex underground sewer network. This made their cities cleaner and more hygienic than London or Paris would be 3,000 years later. They had a standardized system of weights and measures and traded with faraway lands like Mesopotamia. They were organized, prosperous, and technologically ahead of their time. And then they just vanished. There's no widespread evidence of a massive war. No signs of a devastating famine. No clear indication of a societal collapse that we see in other fallen empires. The cities were simply abandoned. The people seem to have quietly disappeared from the historical record, leaving their incredible, orderly world behind. It's one of history's most profound and quietest disappearances. Now, let's turn to a civilization everyone knows, but maybe not in the way you think. Ancient Egypt. We all know about the pyramids, but the sheer scale and precision involved are often understated. Let's focus on the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's not just a big pile of rocks. It is a work of mathematical and engineering genius that seems impossible for its time. First, its alignment. 2. The pyramid is aligned to true north with an accuracy of within 3/60ths of a single degree. This is a level of precision that is incredibly difficult to achieve, even with modern compasses and GPS. How they managed this 4,500 years ago remains a subject of intense debates. Then, there's the construction. The pyramid is built from an estimated 2.3 million stone blocks, with many of them weighing several tons. Some of the granite beams inside the king's chamber weigh up to 80 tons. These were quarried from a location over 500 miles away. Oh, were these massive stones cut with such precision, transported, and then lifted hundreds of feet into the air? And the tolerances. The stones are fitted together so perfectly that you often can T-fit a piece of paper between them. This is a standard of quality that many modern construction projects would struggle to meet. All of this was supposedly accomplished without iron tools, without pulleys, and without modern machinery. This wasn't primitive engineering. It was a form of precision science we still don't fully comprehend. From the deserts of Egypt, we fly across the globe to the arid plains of southern Peru. Here, the Nazca civilization left behind an enigma that is as vast as it is baffling. The Nazca lines, etched into the desert floor, are hundreds of massive geoglyphs. Some are simple, perfect straight lines that run 4 miles, cutting across hills and ravines without deviation. Others are gigantic, stylized drawings of animals: a spider, a hummingbird, a monkey, a whale. These figures are so enormous that they are completely unrecognizable from the ground. They can only be properly seen and appreciated from high up in the air. And that is the core of the mystery. The Nazca lines were created between 500 BC and 500 AD. They were uneven properly discovered or understood by the modern world until airplanes became common in the 1930s. So, the question is obvious and haunting. Who were these designs for? There is absolutely no evidence that the Nazca people had any form of flight. No hot air balloons, no gliders, nothing. Yet, they dedicated immense effort to creating colossal works of art that were specifically designed to be viewed from the sky. Were they messages to gods in the heavens? Were they astronomical calendars? Or is there a piece of their technological history that we are completely missing? Finally, we go back to the very beginning, to the cradle of civilization in Mesopotamia. The Sumerians, they are credited as being the first. They gave us the first known system of writing, cuneiform. They invented the wheel, the sailboat, and developed the 60-second minutes and 60-minute hour we still use today. But their knowledge went deeper. They possessed an incredibly advanced understanding of mathematics and astronomy. They created detailed star charts, could predict eclipses, and knew the paths of the planets, including distant ones that are barely visible to the naked eye. Their knowledge seems almost impossibly advanced for a civilization just emerging from prehistory. And this is where their own stories become part of the puzzle. Sumerian texts and myths are filled with detailed accounts of powerful beings they call the Anunnaki, which translates to those who from heaven to earth came according to their legends. These beings descended from the sky, were masters of science and architecture, and taught humanity the fundamentals of civilization. For centuries, historians have viewed these as symbolic myths, origin stories common to many cultures. But given the Sumerians' inexplicable leap in knowledge, some have to wonder, were these stories purely symbolic? Or were they a literal record of their history, an attempt to describe an encounter that was far beyond their comprehension? 2. The conventional timeline of history paints a neat, linear progression from primitive to advanced. These civilizations tell a different story. They show us that the past was far more complex, more mysterious, and perhaps more technologically sophisticated than we've been led to believe. From the impossible engineering of Göbekli Tepe to the celestial art of the Nazca, we are confronted with achievements that defy our explanations. History may not be as simple as we were taught. Civilizations rise, they disappear. And sometimes, they leave behind questions that are far more unsettling than the answers we think we have. The real mystery isn't just what we've found. It's what we, as a species, may have forgotten along the way. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the unknown. If you enjoyed this, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. What ancient mystery fascinates you the most? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, keep questioning,